Pablo Escobar is known as the most famous smuggler in history. He wouldn't accept any obstacles in achieving his goals. He used to say anything that comes in our way must be pushed aside. Many people say Pablo Escobar is a hero, but many others say this is ridiculous. Can someone who kills innocent people be considered a hero? He had no qualms about killing innocent people to achieve his goals. Flight number 203 of Avianca. Flight 203 of Avianca was scheduled to depart from El Dorado International Airport in Bogota, the capital of Colombia, to Cali, Colombia on November 27, 1989. The aircraft was a Boeing 727 with a total of 107 people on board, including crew members. Various checks were performed on the aircraft at the airport, and it was prepared for departure. Finally, at 7:13 a.m., the flight took off. The plane quickly ascended and reached an altitude of 13,000 feet within 5 minutes. Its speed was 794 kilometers per hour. Suddenly, an explosion occurred in the middle of the aircraft near the fuel tank. Before the wreckage of this plane reached the ground, 107 passengers were killed, but the fiery wreckage of this plane, which is coming to the ground, increased the number of deaths of this plane. That means it killed 3 people on the ground. We said that this plane took off from Bogota airport and only 5 minutes had passed. That's why it was still on the outskirts of Bogota and it was full of people. At first, Colombian aviation authorities did not realize that a bomb had exploded on this plane. They thought it was a technical problem with the aircraft itself. However, soon after further investigation, it became clear that explosive materials had caused the explosion. More comprehensive investigations implicated the Medellín Cartel, a cartel that was under the control of whom? Pablo Escobar. By targeting the Avianca Flight 203, Pablo Escobar made a grave mistake, as the intended victim, Cesar Gaviria Trujillo, was not on the plane. Instead, 110 innocent people lost their lives. Escobar had aimed to assassinate Trujillo, who was set to run for the Colombian presidential elections in 1990 and was a strong candidate with a large following and high chances of winning. However, Escobar didn't want him to become president because Trujillo had always stated in his election campaigns that all of Colombia's misfortunes were under the control of these cartels. He vowed to eradicate all these cartels, especially the Pablo Escobar cartel, if he became president. Escobar killed many of his opponents on the streets, but Trujillo was a high-ranking politician and he couldn't easily kill him. They did a lot of research. They found a flight that Cesar Gaviria was on and tried to blow up the plane. But you saw that their plan failed. How much power did Escobar really have? How could he easily bomb a plane? And that's a plane that's supposed to have an important person on board. The Medellín Cartel had purchased 2 tickets for this flight, seats 18A and 18K. The seats are located exactly on the tank of the plane. Now, who carried the bomb onto the plane? A decoy. A young member of Escobar's cartel is hired. He is given a substantial amount of money and is instructed to sit in these specific seats on the plane and turn on the recorder provided to him. On either side of him, 2 businessmen are seated, whom we need to hear when they speak to each other. This young man had received a good amount of money and had no idea that the recording device was actually a bomb. We said they bought 2 tickets. They told this young man that one of the cartel's boys would accompany him. But before they boarded the plane, one person left the queue and returned. And this man boarded the plane alone. As the plane took off, he took out the recorder and pressed the record button, the button that detonated the bomb. The bomb itself wasn't very large, but the explosion occurred in a critical location, tank of the plane, which had just been filled. When Escobar realized that Trujillo was not on this plane, he became very angry because not only had his objective not been accomplished, but it had also backfired in a way, and everyone suspected that Escobar was behind this terrorist attack. Escobar had brought another trouble upon himself. 2 Americans were on this plane. The killing of these 2 American people prompted George H.W. Bush, who was the president of the United States at the time, to order action against Escobar and instruct American security forces to take the Escobar cartel seriously. A few months later, Colombia's elections are held, and right before the angry and upset eyes of Escobar, Cesar Gaviria Trujillo becomes the president of Colombia. The president who, in all his speeches, had stated that his first goal is to destroy the Medellín Cartel. At this time, as we're discussing his situation, the Medellín Cartel has reached the peak of its power and Pablo Escobar is the cocaine kingpin of the world. However, this terrorist attack on the plane became a turning point for Escobar. From that moment on, the empire of Escobar began to crumble. Their power diminishes every day, and not only are Colombian forces seeking their destruction, but also the DEA, Drug Enforcement Administration of the United States, is pursuing their demise. Escobar had no choice but to surrender, but that doesn't mean he has become weak, and Colombian forces can't easily capture him. Therefore, he sends a message to the government through Trujillo and says, "Okay, you want to throw me in jail? I'll go to prison, but not the one you tell me to. I'll build my own prison." The government agrees, saying, "You build your own prison." Escobar says, "Okay, I'll build the most luxurious prison in the world for myself, a prison better than a 5-star hotel." The Colombian government thought that if Escobar went to his own prison, Medellín Cartel activities would cease. But no, this gentleman has gone to his own hotel and is running the cartel from there. It means there has been no difference in the cartel's efficiency. In short, the president orders Colombian forces to raid Escobar's prison and capture him, dead or alive. But Escobar had many informants and they told him that they were coming, so he left before they arrived. He had been hiding for 2 years and was a fugitive. Authorities searched for him, but he continued to elude capture. He had cash money everywhere. They finally found him in his hiding place in 1993, and when he tried to escape through the roof, they had to shoot him and Escobar was killed. His pride brought him down. He had reached the pinnacle of power and thought he could do anything, even kill 100 innocent people for his goals. But this time, it didn't work, and it led to his downfall. They say Escobar had more than $30 billion in cash at that time, stashed in various locations, even buried underground. Most of Escobar's money, they say, was eaten by desert rats because cash underground deteriorates quickly. All that wealth and power didn't bring anything to Escobar's family. Instead, it made them even more miserable and trapped. After Pablo Escobar's death, his wife and 2 children flee to Mozambique, even in the depths of poverty. They didn't even have money to eat. In Mozambique, they apply for an Argentine visa and it's granted to them. This means they go to Argentina with a tourist visa, but they couldn't stabilize their lives at all because wherever Escobar's name came up, they were told they couldn't help. That's why they changed their names and their family name. Escobar's son, who was originally named Juan Pablo Escobar, changed his name to Sebastian Marucan and declared, "I have no connections to Pablo Escobar." His mother and sister also changed their names, and with their new identities, they managed to find jobs and rebuild their lives, at least in Argentina. While in Argentina, they managed to settle down to some extent, especially his son Sebastian Marucan. He wrote a documentary about his father's life titled Sins of My Father. This documentary improved their living conditions somewhat, but the money from the Medellín Cartel never came to them. If you were in Pablo Escobar's time, what message would you give him? Thank you for being with us until the end of the video. If you enjoyed it, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel.